Hi, and welcome back to Mingus on Tech. I'm Ken Mingus, Executive Editor at Computer World. I'm here with my Apple expert and Mac guru, Michael Tagonia. Behind the camera, we've got Chris Hebert, our video producer, who's going to be weighing in on some of this. We're talking about the iMac Pro, which Mike is about to spend a lot of money on, so stick around. Okay, Mike. So, hey, first, thanks for being here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the iMac Pro that you've been eyeing and get an idea for why you think this is the computer for you. For anybody that may not be familiar with the iMac Pro, is Apple's top of the line iMac all-in-one. Starts at $49.99, and for that, the basic model gives you an 8-core Intel Xeon W, a graphics card that's got 8 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of memory, 1 terabyte SSD storage. It's pretty well tricked out to begin with.
27-inch 5K display.
And a 27-inch 5K display, which is absolutely fabulous. So you're eyeing this. Tell me right now, what kind of setup do you have and what are you doing with it? Because I want to find out why you need this kind of horsepower.
I have a 2012 MacBook Pro, and that's what I use mostly. But I also have a desktop workstation at home, and that's the Mac Pro, the original.
Not the new round one, though.
No, not the round one, the tower.
Okay.
But it's been tricked out with a PCIe card, with a dual SSD slots. It's starting to show its age. You know,
okay.
I mean, it's fine. You know, for what it, for basic tasks at this time, because it's almost 8 years old.
Well, you're talking
9 years old, 10 years
6 or
old.
7, yeah. And you're basically using this for video editing, right?
That's right. That's right. I'm using it for video editing and a few other projects. But I was actually looking to upgrade back in the fall. Remember when they released the MacBook Pros, which was the reason I was so annoyed during that show.
Yeah.
Because I was disappointed in Apple's offerings. And now that the company has actually picked up a bunch of the laptops that we've been distributing it, I've been supporting it, I'm still disappointed.
Okay.
I mean, it's fine. It's just the touch bar seems like a dead end.
Yeah.
Apple hasn't done much with it. It's the performance leap isn't what I was expecting.
Right.
But then when they released this iMac, it's a quantum. It's a pretty big jump in performance. It's not, it's enough to get my interest.
Yeah.
Is basically what it comes down to. And finally, I said, you know what, I need to replace the old system. Just because it's been that long, and it's starting to show its age, and I'm trying to future-proof the next 8 years, essentially.
Yeah. So you think, I mean, I know we'll get into this in a minute in terms of how you've configured the model that you're going to get. Did you consider the Mac Pro, the little round canister one?
I didn't. It wasn't even a consideration.
Why not?
I reviewed that one when it first came out, and I gave it
years ago.
Exactly. I gave it really good reviews, but that was
years ago.
And Apple, obviously, they know they designed themselves into a corner with that specific model, so they've been trying to do a catch up of sorts, and they put their highest grade components
chips,
and whatnot into the latest iMac. And you know what? I do like the all-in-one design. I do like the iMac design. If I'm going to expand, it is going to be external.
Yeah. You mean in terms of storage?
In terms of storage, in terms of anything else, because I do have a Drobo RAID unit. I do have an external enclosure for RAIDs for all my video projects and things like that. So my storage has pretty much been external anyway. I mean, the bay, in the Mac Pro, I have like a 10 terabyte RAID inside that, but there's no reason to take that. I can't take that outside. The internal storage and upgrading the internal components doesn't really, because I don't often do it.
What are you going to do with the old one?
I'm probably going to sell it.
Really? Okay.
I'll probably sell it. I mean,
what can you get for that now?
Yeah, if you just the bottom line 8 cores, I was looking on eBay. You can get them for like $500 or something. So it's not like they're I'm going to get my money back. Just by selling this one.
No, but every little bit will help. I mean,
No,
this is going to be an expensive machine.
Oh, it really is. It really is.
You can use it as a coffee table.
It makes a lovely decorative accessory for your apartment or house, yeah.
Yep, and when the winter comes, you know, that room heats up all
just
nicely
right
by
up.
itself. You know, just start rendering some Final Cut Pro projects, and the room will warm right up. But it's the iMac Pro provided the performance leap. It was, you know, it wasn't just a jump; it was a performance leap compared to you know, modern Macs, not just the computers that I'm using. You know, so I'd rather have an upgraded desktop at this point than spend that money on a notebook, than an Apple notebook, which is what I was doing. So, which was the original plan.
Right.
So I am still using a 2012 MacBook Pro, and that's still, you know, fine for the stuff I'm doing. But I really want something kind of future-proof because I'm starting to delve into the 4K video, and that's, you know. That's only going to increase, you know, the size of the files, the complexity of the video files, and things like that going forward.
You still doing drone footage?
Oh yeah.
So is a lot of this going to be drone, you know, aerial drone work?
Oh, it's going to be a mixture of everything.
Okay.
So, and again, the videos are only going to get more and more detailed.
Well, after 4K, you're going to get 8K, and at some point down the road, so you're going to. I understand you're going to need the horsepower. What do you use to edit with?
Final Cut Pro.
Final Cut Pro. Okay. All right. Well, so I wanted to find out. So as I said, you know, the basic iMac Pro starts at $49.99. That starts you off with an 8-core, and you're going to go to what? What are you getting?
I'm getting the 10-core.
Yep.
Which, for the price increase, it seemed like a good balance between, you know, not being.
Well, you can go up to 18 cores. In fact, I did. I had to go online today just to see how this thing would max out. And if you go with the maximum in terms of RAM and the 18-core processor, the upgraded graphics card, you know, 4 terabytes of SSD storage, etc., I quickly got beyond $13,000 for an all-in-one, basically an iMac.
Oh my God, that's I could never justify that price for a workstation. I don't know. My workstation at home, I built. It's a PC.
Yeah.
$4,000.
Yeah. Well, all right.
I got a 6-core, you know, NVIDIA GPU, and
how does it compare to these specs?
I mean, obviously these are a lot better. The new iMac Pro, but
would you even say that the pricing's competitive?
I'd say the starting price is competitive for the 8-core.
For the $49.99 model, the entry model, which also has the 5K Retina display.
That that right there is competitive.
Yeah.
It's just from there, you know, beyond that, yikes. I mean,
yeah.
You got to think, like, you know, if you're a professional in the industry, you're probably going to be working with a editing codec like ProRes or DNx HD, which it's able to run better with the CPU and the GPU when you scrub through your footage.
Yep.
The MP4 codec, you know, you could have a hot rod of computer, you know, with like 20 cores, whatever. Once you use that MP4 codec and you start working with high resolutions, it doesn't matter how good your system is, it's going to chug.
Yeah, it's going to slow down.
So then what you do is you transcode that footage to a codec.
ProRes.
Exactly. Yep. To an Apple ProRes or DNx HD.
And that's more efficient. It uses the resources more efficiently.
So you get more out of you get more out of the hardware that you've got.
Absolutely, because that's the thing. I mean, if you're interested in looking at this iMac Pro, but you're doing some very basic editing, like 1080p editing, you should look at the i7 iMacs, because not only are they cheaper, so you'll save, you know, a couple of grand right off the bat, but for single core processes, you know, the i7 still stands up really well even against these Xeons.
Yeah.
It's only when you start combining multi-core software that's optimized for multi-core operation that's where you start getting the efficiency. But again, the more cores you add, that doesn't necessarily mean the linear increase in processing.
So moving from like 8 cores to 18 cores would not necessarily mean
a linear
twice
increase.
the speed. Right. You'll get more speed, but not double.
But that is also dependent on how well the software is written to utilize the resources. Because again, if it's pushing a single core, you know, if it's a single threaded, then it's going to push one core, and then that's when processor speed actually matters more, or gigahertz actually matters more than the amount of cores.
Right.
But if the software is well designed and able to distribute, you know, amongst all the resources, including the graphics card, including the available cores, then that's what you have to do. You have to do the research. You have to make sure that the software that you are going to use is written and optimized for this specific machine, or else you're better off saving some money and going with the iMac with the i7.
I'd say their starting model, what is it, $499.99,
$49.99. Yeah,
that's a perfect price if you're working in 4K.
Yeah,
if you're working in 4K, that's a perfect price. You shouldn't have any problem working in 4K for a rig at that price, like easily 8-core. And what does it have for RAM starting?
32.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Again, I agree with you. I think that would be proper and appropriate and plenty for now. But would that be enough 2-3 years down the road?
That's exactly why I bumped up the specs to the next level. I got the higher end graphics card. I got the 64 gigs of memory, and I got the 2 terabytes of storage.
So I just want to add this up real quick. We start at $49.99. You go to the next step up on the processor. That's an extra $800. Mm-hmm. You double the RAM to 64 gigs. That's another $800. What'd you do for storage? 2 terabytes,
2
or 4?
2 terabytes.
Oh, you cheaped out.
Yeah, I had to.
All right, so
I mean,
2 terabytes of storage, $800. I detect a trend here.
Yeah, but look at the next model. What's how much more for the 4 terabytes?
For the 4 terabytes of storage?
Yeah, how much more?
Ooh, that goes up another. That kicks it up another 2K.
That's exactly why
Yeah,
I
okay,
that.
yeah.
Okay,
But you have to
I'm
understand.
already at $93.99.
Well, hold on
now.
a second. They did do a very specialized. They have 2 chipsets, 2 NAND chipsets that are actually running off the T2 chipset.
Okay.
That's customized from Apple, and it's actually encrypting the data on the fly without any speed hits. It's actually a really impressive unit because it's not like they're taking off the shelf components, for the drives. Apple did something. They customized it. Now we're getting like 3 point some odd gigabits of write speed,
bandwidth,
and another two. These numbers are ridiculous. So it's not like you can say, well, they're comparable to, let's say, an SSD you can buy off Amazon. Apple.
This is the whole point of having the software and the hardware under the same
exactly
umbrella, under the same roof. They can optimize.
They're what, using M.2 drives?
Let me see. Let me look into it. No, it's a NAND. They're using.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me just be more specific, just in case.
I will say though, the like those really high end models, like 14 core, 18 core.
That's too much.
Yeah. I mean, I could.
Why would someone need that? I mean, and legitimately need it, not because they want bragging rights. I've got the top end model.
So let's say you're a small post production company that does like CGI or they use After Effects a lot. That's where you want 14 cores, 18 cores, because that's really going to tax your
That's
CPU.
the kind of work that's going to actually take advantage of it.
Yeah, but at that point, you have to make sure that, again, the software you're using is optimized for stuff like that.
Now, aren't you going to have more specialized software than Final Cut Pro for something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you would have to.
I mean, you're talking like a real niche.
Yeah, we're talking like Blender, After Effects, trying to think of other ones. Photoshop really wouldn't be that taxing.
Yeah.
There's other like 3D rendering softwares that you can get. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but that would utilize these, 14 core, 18 core CPUs. But for video, I mean,
it's diminishing returns once you start getting into the high end for video stuff.
The starting price, like that's perfect. Like,
yeah. God, you guys make me want to go out and buy an iMac Pro.
Okay, so it's using
because it sounds like such a great deal.
The iMac Pro comes with an NVMe based SSD storage. It's 2 chips basically striped into one, and it's the T2 chip that Apple made that is actually writing and encrypting on the fly without any speed hit. And I mean, it's a pretty it's a big deal.
If you can do that without hitting, without slowing things down.
Right. It's impressive. I mean, it sounds, again, if you're looking at just the numbers, it sounds like, okay, it's just a little bit more complicated than
It's not as simple as the specs would lead you to believe if you're looking at it on the website.
Right, and because of that, the performance is even greater than one would expect.
Let me ask, before you thought about it, before you decided to take the plunge on this, did you think about doing what Chris did, which is basically getting the best components and building your own, or did you really want to go with? I mean, I know you tend to be an Apple guy at heart anyway.
Listen, I work on PCs, Android, Mac every day.
Yeah.
I mean, some days more busier than others, but every day. If anybody comes up to me with a computer problem, I will gladly help them. No worries. But if my computer breaks down, I'll kick it through a window before I support it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just have no patience for that kind of problem. I don't have any Windows machine at home.
Right.
It's just problematic, and the same reason I'm not getting the MacBook Pro.
Mm-hmm.
From day-to-day experience troubleshooting that equipment, I'm not impressed by its reliability.
Okay.
But this one looks again right up my alley because it's future-proofing the next 8 years as far as I'm concerned.
I wanted to ask about that. I mean, any concerns given what Apple has done? They made a big deal of rolling out the new redesigned Mac Pro and then let it lay fallow for like 3 years before a modest upgrade. Any concerns that they're going to roll out this? They've rolled out this iMac Pro, and that it won't be. I mean, there's not going to be a whole lot you can do to it once you've got it. You can't go in and
that's exactly
why
I bumped up the specs. Because again, once it's shipped from the factory, that's it. It is the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get an authorized reseller or Apple themselves to replace the memory, but you're limited. But I'm assuming that I'm expecting that Apple, and this is lowballing, Apple in terms of expectations, but I'm expecting them to let this languish as well. For some reason, the only products that Apple truly cares about year after year is the iPhone.
Well, of course. I mean, I was going to say even the laptops these days, and you're just not seeing a lot of the pace of innovation or the pace of change seems to have really slowed down.
It did.
With everything except for the phone.
Right.
And maybe the iPad.
I agree, but that's why this iMac Pro is so impressive to me, because it is a leapfrog in terms of performance compared to previous Macs. Will they upgrade the components in 6 months from now or a year from now? I hope not, because that means that the price I paid for it makes it worth it just that little bit more. So I mean, I have a friend who spent $10,000 on the trash can iMac. I mean, a trash can Mac Pro, and he was excited for years that they didn't upgrade it because he had the top of the line for that long. So it kind of justified the purchase. Now I hope that Apple doesn't wait 3 years before upgrading the iMac Pro, but they have a track record that says that
don't expect a quick update.
Right.
Within a year, maybe even 2 years, I would say, for something like this.
And again, my original plan was to buy the MacBook Pro. It's just for what it is. Like it doesn't recognize dongles sometimes. Some monitors don't work that should work. Just really odd problems like that. I just don't. I don't want to introduce equipment into my life that's going to lead to more troubleshooting.
Right.
This iMac Pro looks right up my alley. It's expensive. I acknowledge that. It's more than I wanted to spend. But if I look at the lifetime of my Apple machines, it's going to be worth it as long as it lasts as long as the previous models.
Right. Okay. Chris, any other thoughts before we move on?
Not really.
No?
Yeah.
You ready to go buy an iMac Pro?
I'm going to stick with my PC.
You're good. You're going to.
I'm going to stick with my PC.
You're hands-on. You like to build.
I mean, I work with both. I work with Macs and PCs here, and then at home I got a PC. I will say though, I mean, I've never really had problems with PCs.
Really?
Personally.
That's interesting. You're the only one today.
Except for trying to install, what is it, like PCIe cards, like for Thunderbolt. I want to get Thunderbolt on my PC.
Right.
Well, I can't because I don't have the right motherboard that supports the card.
Yeah.
So I mean,
sounds terrible.
It really is, especially when you work in video. It's you want that speed, but
I agreed, and that's why I like the Apple hardware, because I know it's the best for the moment on the Apple side. What I mean? Obviously, there's always a better components out there, especially on the PC side. But I like Apple's integration. I like the hardware software integration. I like the effort that they put into making the iMac Pro more than the sum of its specs, and then they priced it accordingly. But I expect that this machine is going to last me years
Right.
and years and years.
Well, if you take that the final price tag and divide it by about 7 or 8 years on an annual basis, it's not quite so bad.
No, but it still hurts.
I'm sure it does. Well, but it hurts so good. How long before you get this thing?
About a week or two.
And that's because when you configure it, it makes
Absolutely.
it takes longer to get it.
Right. I could have gone to the store and got the low end configuration. But,
Right.
Again, I want it to last just a little bit more.
All right. So maybe in a couple of months I can have you back, and you and Chris can duke it out as to who's got the better computer.
We don't have to really duke it out.
We should benchmark it.
You could.
Let's benchmark it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you want to bring that thing in.
Nope.
But
we can run the
it should
benchmarks
be,
and still
It
figure
should be easy to bring it in. It's all one piece, right?
Yeah, it's one big, large piece.
Yeah, in a very big box.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, Chris, thanks for weighing in here. Mike, congratulations, and
Thanks.
Thanks for stopping by. And we'll see how it works out for you. For now, after the iMac Pro discussion, that's a wrap.